Good morning, everyone. We're so happy you all could make it this morning to our graduation Sabbath school. We're getting closer and closer to the big day, and we are so excited to share this special weekend with all of you. Again, thank you for joining us. Caleb will now have our opening prayer.
Bow your heads with me. So Lord, thank you that we could be here today with our family and our friends. Please be with us as we share a little bit about ourselves, and help us have a good Sabbath. Amen.
For Sabbath school today, the class of 2021 decided that we would like to share a personal testimony or favorite memory from our time at Gem State and how Gem State has impacted our lives.
Gem State has been an amazing experience for me. I showed up late to school this year and almost immediately fit in and was part of the class. As the school year went on, I had loads of fun as one activity after another filled my days with fun and laughter. One of my favorite memories here was when a Christmas tree on the front of campus was set up with lights. There were speakers playing Christmas music, and before long, a group of us were dancing and singing and drinking hot chocolate around the tree. This is just one example of how Gem State involves its students so we can grow closer to each other and have a really great time. But Gem State is not just fun. I've learned a lot just from talking to teachers and deans in the dorm. Dean Rios has spent many hours telling me stories and giving me advice on relationships and real-life scenarios that I know I'll use in the very near future. Overall, I've had a life-changing experience here, and I wouldn't change it for anything.
Hi. My time here at Gem State has naturally had its ups and downs. However, I do know that my time here has forever impacted my life. Throughout the years, I have grown and changed, and I have watched my friends mature and become young adults, even though we all still have our immature moments. Some of my favorite memories come from sports seasons each year. Since sophomore year, I've been a varsity volleyball player, and one of my very favorite memories was our trip to Milo in the fall of 2019. After about an 8-hour bus ride, we reached our destination only to be greeted with open arms and lots of smiles and hellos. After Vespers that Friday night, many of the Milo students came up to say hi to us, and we talked as though we'd been friends for years. We were even invited into one of the volleyball players' dorm rooms that night for a little get-together. And even though we had only known each other or met each other a few hours earlier, we all told stories and acted like we had been friends for a long time. When we played them the next day, it was kind of hard for me to become super competitive just because they were new friends, and I don't know, I didn't want to get too competitive against them, but our team ended up becoming victorious, so we were able to go home with those wins. But that definitely was not the point of this trip or what I remember the most. The thing that I remember the most is how we were able to make friends with people that we had only known for less than 2 or 3 days. A few weeks later, we went to Walla Walla for their volleyball tournament, and the Milo volleyball and soccer team were both there, and any chance we had, both of our different schools would go to the other schools' games and cheer and talk to them. Even though we had only spent a few short hours together several weeks before, both of our schools were able to come together thanks to this sports program. This last summer, I reached out to one of the seniors that we had played, and I just asked her about her experience at Milo and how she was doing up at Walla Walla. And even though we hadn't spoken in over a year at least, we were able to connect and talk like we were a lot more than just mere acquaintances. But I guess the point of my story isn't that I was able to make friends with somebody quickly. It's that Gem State allowed for me and all of my sport people to make friends with people and meet people that we had never met before. I've been able to experience a lot of things like this thanks to Gem State and the trips that we've been able to take throughout the years. Many things I have done would never have been possible if it wasn't for Gem State, and I really appreciate that about this school. Thank you.
Hello, happy Sabbath. So, Gem State Adventist Academy has been a place where I've been able to grow both academically and spiritually. I have multiple favorite memories at Gem State, and I'll briefly talk about two of my favorites, Thailand Mission Trip and my Praise Team 316. Thailand Mission Trip taught me to appreciate what I have and to give back. I feel extremely blessed to have been able to get this experience, and I'm so grateful Gem State offered this trip. This was my first experience at being a missionary, and I loved every second of it. It was amazing to go to a different country with a different culture and teach them about God through stories, music, and crafts. I will never forget this life-changing experience. This opened doors to a new interest in helping others learn about God through outreach and mission trips. The highlight of my senior year has been my Praise Group 316. This year, I've had the privilege to work with 5 talented and amazing musicians. I have loved making music and getting to know each person in my group. At the beginning of the year, we started out as 5 different solo musicians, but through this year, we became a close-knit family. I have cherished each moment, each practice, and each performance. 316 has become a family to me, and I know I can rely and trust each of them. Exactly like we became a family, we also continue to grow closer to God. This is evident through praying together, playing together, and praising God together. There is no denying that we mean the words we play and sing. Being a part of 316 has positively impacted my life. It has given me an opportunity to praise God, and as a result, my faith in God grows stronger. These are just 2 of my many amazing experiences Gem State has provided, and each one has strengthened my relationship with God. I will never forget all the memories and teachings I have received. Gem State not only provided me with knowledge, but emphasized the importance of a life with God. The teacher and staff at Gem State have shown me how a life dedicated to God is so much better than anything else. Thank you.
The past 4 years of my life have almost all consistently revolved around school. Not only was I spending most hours of my day within our ad building, but I was also living here 5 days out of the week. My evenings were spent either doing homework or within anything that was sports related, and then my weekends were often spent participating in school events, a class event, or maybe even sports again. But don't get me wrong, that's what I appreciated so much about Gem State, the fact that there are so many opportunities to be involved with. I know that if I went to almost any other high school, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go on our annual sport tournaments. I wouldn't have had as many opportunities to get personal help from my teachers, and many of my favorite memories wouldn't have had even happened if I was anywhere else. From traveling across the country to the middle of nowhere to play basketball, to really any and every experience from senior survival, and to even seeing Connor cry are just a few of the many memories I've been so blessed to have had here. And I mean, honestly, at first, I really underestimated the benefits of going to a small school. But after just experiencing winter camp, going skiing instead of going to school, and having so many chances to ask the teachers any kind of question I might have had, I really began to notice the many advantages to not only going to a small school, but coming here to Gem State. But all in all, most importantly to me, my time here has allowed me to grow exponentially, to learn more than I thought I could ever comprehend, and to truly make me into the person I am today.
Hello. During my time at Gem State, I've experienced a bunch of fond memories with a bunch of different people. I'd say the one that I remember the best is when we won the football championship, which was during my sophomore year. And I think the reason that it stuck with me is because it was one of the earliest memories that I've had when coming to this school. At the time, I was still getting to know people and getting used to being comfortable around them. So going into the championship and having everybody watch was pretty nerve-wracking. Even more so because we haven't previously beaten the team we were playing against. So the game starts, goes on for a bit. It was intense, it was crazy, there was cheering, there was crying. But miraculously, we won, and a crowd of people I didn't even know that well ran out to the field. So ultimately, this was one moment that made me feel connected to this school and to people who go there. It was then I began to realize the type of environment that we had at Gem State. As far as high schools go, we're pretty close-knitted, and this idea has carried over into the many other events that have taken place over the 3 years that I've been here. For example, like when we won a basketball championship, or when we went on a trip to Disneyland and played music for a bunch of different schools, or when we scaled a 13-foot wall, and ultimately, it was the people that made this time amazing, and I really enjoyed it here. So, thank you.
As I reflect on my 4 years at Gem State, one thing that stood out to me the most is the mission trip to Thailand I took my sophomore year. It was an opportunity to learn about another culture, step outside myself and serve others, and experience new and exciting adventures. This is an experience that opened up opportunities to educate, aid, and care for the children staying at the New Life Orphanage. While in Thailand, we got to visit their temples, tour their markets, and experience the beautiful nature surrounding us at all times. One of my favorite memories was the opportunity to ride the elephants. We were able to take the elephants and give them a bath in the river. This is a memory that I will cherish because it's not something that everyone can say that they've done. We also got to have some amazing, authentic food like pad thai, fresh coconut, and even cooked grasshoppers. In exchange, we cooked them some American spaghetti. In addition, we organized a vacation Bible study every evening for the children. This was an incredible opportunity to worship with the kids and interact with them directly, and see how they responded. Although it was difficult to communicate with them due to the language barrier, we still accepted each other openly and embraced each other's culture. One thing that stood out to me the most was the way that the children in the orphanage always seemed grateful. They didn't have much clothes or personal belongings, but they always saw the positive in every situation. This really humbled me as someone who has access to clean water, new clothes, and food, that they were so thankful for everything they received. This is something I will never forget, as this showed me that you can find happiness in everything, as long as you are looking. Throughout my time at Gem State, I would be stressed or tired, but I was shown that even through the worst situations, I can still find the joy around me.
My sophomore year, I had the opportunity to go to Thailand with a group of my peers, both within and outside of my class. I never had been out of the country before, and this was a major step out of my personal comfort zone, both for myself and I imagine for my parents as well. I not only got to know myself better and others, but this trip specifically solidified my relationship with God. I realized how blessed I am to attend a private school and have a house to live in, food on the table, and all sorts of other things. Learning to be reliant on God was a lesson that I learned, especially after the first week and I was just about done. Having just come to Gem State before the mission trip and being there for about 6 months, I was still establishing relationships with my peers, staff, and people who lived in the dorm. This trip strengthened these bonds. I mean, you really get to know someone well when you're both stuck in a hotel room and you get your laundry stuck in the machine, and when you're stuck next to them on a 14-hour flight from point A to point B. You both worry about the week's worth of clothing that was stuck in the machine and if you were ever going to get them out. And eventually we did, but we ended up having to take kind of soppy wet clothing to our next destination. Through the next 3 years, I have been at Gem State, and students, staff, and peers have been overly accepting and caring and made my experiences meaningful. I know that when I come to school that I matter and I'm able to speak my mind, and life is so much easier and accessible. I know that school is not all about the academics, and it was hard to wrap my head around those things the first 2 years that I was there, but I've learned to establish lifelong friendships. In the dorm, my home away from home, I've learned independence and the importance of familial living in an environment where it is not necessarily my home. Learning to do laundry, keep a clean room, and resolve issues when there are some. Because, you won't always get along with everyone in life that you meet. I have learned to demonstrate love even to those who I'm not the closest to, and demonstrate the love of Jesus as well. In the end, Gem State has helped my spiritual growth through chapel thoughts and the teachers who have demonstrated the love and care of Jesus to me outside of the classroom and inside as well. It has become real to me in the last 3 years that I've been here, and I'm ready to move on with my life, but I will never forget Gem State. I will never forget my experiences here, the people that I've met, or the staff. In the years to come, I will look upon them, my memories here, with warm feelings as I set out to conquer anything I put my mind to, out in the real world, as the teachers call it, and I am assured that I can do anything through Christ who strengthens me. Thank you.
Whenever I think about my good memories at Gem State, I can't really think of anything. Maybe because I decided to block out most of high school as a survival mechanism. I can really only think about the time I spent with my friends. There are probably many other fun memories worth mentioning, but I've noticed that this is the one that really the only memory that keeps coming back to me. One afternoon in the dorm, my friends and I were spending some time together when we saw that it had started to rain outside. This made us very happy since it rarely rains here. So we rushed downstairs to get permission to go outside. We ran outside and stood in an open field and tried to look for lightning. Now that I think about this, it was definitely unsafe to watch a thunderstorm from an open field, but we were dumb and happy. This memory isn't very special, but it has taught me that you don't get to pick what your most treasured memories are. While being in that moment, nothing really stood out, and I wouldn't have thought that would be one of the most memorable things. But I think that's what made it memorable. Because it was just pure happiness, mundane and simple, and I treasure that now that I will be going into a more complicated and overwhelming chapter in my life. I have a whole life to be complex, so I like to enjoy the simple moments when I can.
Something that will forever stick to me is the wall at senior survival. Now, our class is pretty athletic, and according to Waterhouse, we're one of the fastest classes that got over the wall. But after everyone was over, Waterhouse goes, "Great job, guys, but you forgot Gabby." Now, of course, there were certain conditions that were being thought through before committing to this challenge. So Waterhouse asked her, "Do you trust your class to get you over this wall?" And she said, "I do." Now, Sierra and I were the ones lifting Gabby off the ground to push her up to the top. And in the middle, my arms started to give up. I started to shake, tear up, because I was scared I was going to drop her. In my head, I was like, oh God, I need help. But I remember Mr. Soule looking me straight in the eye and saying, "You got this, just push." So I pushed her all the way to the top. but that wasn't the hardest part. So we all ran back over to the other side and set up where we were. Now, Gabby was supposed to be let down between me and Sierra, but she was mostly let down on my side. When she was let down, me and Sarah were like, we're gonna be in trouble. But it was good at first when she let go, but then I started to fall backwards. And I don't remember who it was, but someone got on someone else's back and caught me in the middle of the air. Now, a few minutes later, she was on the ground. There, we have accomplished the impossible. I remember I was crying, hyperventilating, shaking, having a panic attack. I mean, I knew Gabby was safe, but at that moment, I couldn't believe what just happened. First, Mr. Soleil was an angel, and second, the person that caught me as I was falling was also an angel, which showed me that God will forever be there for me, sending me angels to help me through the toughest times and wherever I go. He'll give me the strength and courage I need to accomplish the impossible.
Hello, everyone. It's been a fun year this year. Last summer, I was really debating on whether or not I was going to attend this school. I can say now that it was definitely worth it. I've made lots of friends, played lots of sports, including basketball, hockey, softball, and bowling, and I've attended lots of fun and memorable Vespers. It has been fun getting to know the seniors more every day. I love goofing off and being as silly as possible with the senior guys. Every day before lunch, the guys would always figure out how to show the girls how dumb we were, doing things like wrestling and punching, making super loud noises, and having push-up contests. One of my favorite classes was LTA, or Lifetime Activities. I got the pleasure of listening to jazz music and playing pickleball with Coach Perkins and the other guys. Jazz is so good. During the basketball season this year, I made some new friends and bonded with my teammates at every practice. This class has developed some serious senioritis, but we managed to survive through all the tests, quizzes, and projects. It is an experience I will never forget. Thank you.
Throughout high school, I've been known to slack off on some schoolwork. You don't have to agree with that. I figured that it didn't matter if I missed an assignment here or there. I never really stopped and looked and saw what those assignments were going to do for me in the whole big picture of the school. I didn't really get why until I was told to look at the big picture about how this one calculus assignment helps with the next calculus assignment, and then so on. Like, they kind of build on each other. And then after I found out that you have to look at the big picture, like the end of the calculus, you have to know how to do stuff, and you have to take it through and have the big picture in mind throughout the entire process. You can't just start off a little bit and then not do parts of it and then do that. That is something I've learned this year very much. And I've learned that no matter how small something is, it's always part of something bigger. It's always there, and it deserves to have some effort put into it. Thank you.
Hi. I have a lot of favorite memories here at Gem State, which made choosing just one to talk about with you guys today extremely hard. But I decided to talk about one of my favorite memories from senior survival. Senior survival entailed so many fun memories, yet also challenging and difficult ones as well. This one is a fun one. So one night during our trip, Chloe, Destiny, and I were all in a tent together talking, and eventually Destiny had fallen asleep. A little later, Chloe and I needed to take a bathroom trip at about 1 a.m. in the morning. So we unzipped the door of the tent and we decided to just leave it open since we would be back pretty soon. And so we headed out on our own separate adventure. After we got back, we hustled into the tent, grabbed the door's zipper, and right then we knew we had made a mistake. You see, our tent was resting on a hill that was quite slanted. Of course, we thought this was a nice hill because we had secluded privacy and no one was there, so that's why we wanted it. This idea had great consequences at 1 a.m. in the morning. It turned out that the lower half of Destiny's body had slid out of the tent due to gravity pulling her down the hill. At that moment, Chloe and I knew we had made a very big mistake and that we made a pact that we would not wake Destiny up. So I grabbed her legs and I did my best to contort them in a way that would make them fit in the tent so we could zip up the door. Chloe grabbed her arms and she tried her very best to pull her up the hill. We tried trading places, we tried putting her legs in the air to squish her in. There was even a very small moment where if it wasn't freezing cold outside, we may have left her out there. We obviously threw that out. After a full 20 minutes that felt like 40, we finally had managed to cram her back in the tent so we could zip it up. We had kept the laughter as quiet as possible, even though that was difficult on its own. We worked up a sweat, and we had finally did it. We looked at each other once that zipper hit the end of its course, and we let loose of Destiny and began to celebrate. But I kind of forgot that I had the job of holding her legs. So I dropped her legs, and Destiny sat up and simply asked, what happened? So in the end, all we had worked for to accomplish was thrown in the trash when I dropped her, which I think is what made this memory so much more memorable. Thank you.
Morning. There have been many things I've experienced at Gem State that it's almost impossible to limit it down to a single favorite moment. From enjoying my time in Thailand to messing around with friends on campus, there have been many moments in my life that I'll always remember. Sophomore year, I got the privilege of going to California with the school music department. For me, this trip really gave me a new perspective of fun. Every single day, there was something new and exciting to do. From performing catchy songs on the saxophone to going on spectacular rides in Disneyland, I experienced many fond memories with my classmates and friends. This trip was so good that even a 10-ish hour bus ride in the scorching California desert was semi-enjoyable. Blaring our favorite tunes, we could sing off-key, waiting for this new adventure. I was excited to showcase the amazing songs that we had practiced. On this trip, I had the opportunity to bond with my friends and companions in a way that cannot be matched by anything else. That sort of thing happens when you have 4 guys in a single hotel room goofing off. The late night talks in the hotel room, accompanied by the ambient sound of the TV, really sets a metaphorical bar for great memories. When we finished our tour, we were rewarded with going to Disneyland. For me, this was awesome due to the fact it was my first time going. Oh boy, was it a real treat. From taking pictures with Tinkerbell to going on infamous Indiana Jones ride, I had a blast. When we finished, we returned to the hotel to finish the eventful week. Finally, we had to go back to Idaho. It was an amazing trip.
Since it looks like we have a little bit of time, Mrs. Fitting had asked 3 of us staff if we had any memories that we wanted to share about our class, about this class. So she asked Ms. Mitchell, Dean Fitting, and myself to share. So Ms. Mitchell's going to come up first and share a couple things, and then Dean Fitting, and then I will go last.
So sometimes God brings people into our lives with whom you just have an immediate connection. And that's what happened when I first met Sierra. And sure enough, we have continued to share a love of animals, poetry, writing that has gotten us through the good times and some of the rougher waters as well. In her teacher appreciation note that they wrote this year, and yes, for all the students who write these, I do keep them and they mean the world to me. Thank you. She remembered my chosen word of the year, which is hope. Again, that they do listen in class is another exciting thing. And she also wrote that her favorite thing about my class was the spiritual atmosphere. That just means the world. Sharing Jesus has been such a mutual gift, and I really appreciate that, Sierra. I felt the same sharing the first time that I met Harley, too. Talk about a young lady who just radiates joy with her smile, and you guys have all got to experience that already, even though the weekend is just getting started. She blesses me every day, and that she wrote on her note that you care about us, and we can tell. That means, again, everything to me. Your openness and expression will continue to bless others. It is truly a gift. John 13:35 says that your love for one another will prove to the world that you are my disciples. Each of you, in so many different ways, have shown me that love of Jesus, and I am so very, very grateful to each and every one of you. Congratulations early.
All right, I know each of you are hoping that I'm going to talk in a really high voice, like senior trip, but I'm starting to get my voice back, so it'll just sound a little smoky, smooth. You know, honestly, it would be easy to go on for hours about you guys. There's all kinds of special little moments that as I look at your faces come back to my mind because God has gifted you each with something special. Kayla, there's been multiple times this year that I've teared up as your praise group has played because I feel like a proud parent. Amy, when you were in the dorm, people always considered you to be quiet, but man, when we'd sit down in the office, you had opinions and you were ready to share them. And it was awesome. I loved it. I was like, why doesn't she do that more with everybody else? Harley, the wisdom that you've imparted on your peers this year has been impressive. Destiny, sometimes you hang out in the background, but you are a natural leader, and I hope that you'll use that as God takes you forward. Connor, everybody looks at you as being confident and strong, and that's something that is God-given. People are going to look to you for answers and direction, and I hope that that direction and answers aren't going to come from you, but they're going to come from Him. Austin, I've got good stories and bad stories. But one of the things I think of so often is that you always are trying to connect with the people around you. And sometimes that's great, and sometimes it's annoying, like taking their pencils and putting it up in the ceiling tiles in the dormitory. Different things like that, but you try to make people connect. And Nino, I'll never forget one of the times that we were up at Idahaven and we were sharing about how we saw God. And that night as we were around the campfire, you were honest. You shared with everybody that they had an impact on your life and that you saw God in them, and that made Him real to you. And that was special to me. Thank you for being open and honest. Nayeli, yes, you are a baller on the court. You've always got that energy. You're always giving it your all. I was extremely proud of you this year as you took on the yearbook. You had a direction. You had a gift of allowing those. I would hear these stories, and then I got to see the results from the yearbook, but that you would take people and allow them the opportunity to put their touch on things, but you would go alongside them and try to help guide them. And not all of us are gifted with the ability of being patient and helping someone grow. And I look forward to seeing how God uses that in you. Chloe, Boy, I got lots of stuff to say about you. You'd be surprised. But you were in the dorm for a lot of the time, but I think what's cool is that you have a lineage of individuals who have been here at the school. But even with that, you have been an individual. And God has allowed you different opportunities here at the school to be a leader in athletics, to be the SA president this year, and one of the things that I like about you is that you're very jovial with your peers. Sometimes when you get up in front of this microphone, you're kind of very to the point, but you're always willing to have a good time. And again, too, like I've always seen you trying to take and not corner off into a small group, but try to invite people in. And I hope that you will do that to the world, because they need people who are ready to connect with them and bring them in and not push them away. Sierra, man, I think back to that young lady that walked into the dorm the first time I met you. And I had kind of seen you a little bit before because of Cody being here. But I can truly say that you've grown into a woman. And I know that as you move on, you're ready. And that's a big thing. You can't always say that for everybody when they walk away from school here. There's a lot of the time the staff are going, oh no, are they ready? But you're ready. And I'm proud of you for taking all the different opportunities that you've had to grow and really do it. Gabby, your class mentioned it the other day about being an individual who is giggling and happy, and you know how to find joy in life. And I can tell you all the different times I'd be in my apartment and I could hear Gabby giggling about something out in the dormitory, and then my mind would wonder what's going on, and I would think, it doesn't matter. She's making it happy no matter what it is. Take that joy, spread it with the world. Caleb, I always think of you like with energy. You're always on the move, outside of, when you're trying to sneak in a nap here and there. But most of the time, you're always doing something. You're always going, and you're bringing your boys in with you. We need men in this world who will gather other people around them and lead them. And you've had an opportunity to be a boy and have your boys, but I see the steps of you growing into being a man. And this is my little plug. This is my dad moment. You got Sierra in a relationship, and she needs you to be a man. So I look forward to seeing that, because you've got qualities that allow you to be a man, a man's man. And that smile, share it with everybody. Henry, I saved you for last, because you were here last. But Henry was the one that I honestly wanted to speak about the most, in the sense, because when Henry first got here, he walked in day 1. Day 2, he had to leave because we had to take a little break because of COVID. And so I remember the first time I met him was when he was signing out to leave the dorm. It was like, hi, bye. And I didn't know much about him. But when he came back, one of the things that you know about Henry is he's always walking around with purpose. And probably 90% of the time, he's got a speaker with him, and he's got the soundtrack of his life, some jazz, some Josh Groban, some Andrea Bocelli, something of that nature playing. Kind of like an old soul. And I remember this year we were outside playing some cornhole, and he's like, yeah, I'm good at all the dad stuff. I'm good at golf. I'm good at cornhole. And I think you're going to be a good dad. But I also think about this. Henry always is one of those people that has joy in his heart. He constantly has this pep, this smile, like he's excited. His body exuberates this attitude of there's something to be done and I can't wait to do it. And God's got things for you to do, and I hope you can't wait to do it. But I want to end with this. This text is you in a nutshell. And every time I read it, I'm always going to think of you. It's from Proverbs 17, verse 22, and I'm reading from the Message. A cheerful disposition is good for your health. Gloom and doom leave you bone tired. Take that joy, all of you. Stay connected. Share it with the world. That's what God created you for.
So I'm just going to share three little things that are things I remember. I've been at this school for 3 years, so I've had these guys for 3 years. And, Caleb mentioned earlier that they have had a pretty serious case of senioritis. And so every teacher has to find a way to deal with that. My method is this method. I didn't fill it because I felt I might be tempted. This little water gun can hit probably about where Mrs. Hastings is. I can hit anyone in the classroom from anywhere, and they know it. They live in fear that if they close their eyes, they will get it. The second one was this, and this, as I was thinking about this memory came back to me, and I thought, wow, this really does kind of define this class to some degree. Sophomore year, my first year with you, we started a discussion about animals in heaven. Will your pet be in heaven when you get there? Will Fido be waiting for you next to Jesus' throne? Paws up in the air. It turned into such a heated discussion, it probably took 3 days to get through it. And at the end of it, I just said, listen, let Jesus deal with it, because I don't know. The Bible doesn't say. I'm not going down this road anymore. But I have to say that Sierra was like the biggest, fiercest advocate of all animals we have ever had. They're all up there waiting for us. We're just not there yet. And the last one is this. As a Bible teacher, I have the opportunity to do something that not everyone gets to do. And that's that on occasion, I get to baptize them. And this year, of this class, I baptized 2 students. I baptized Kayla last year and Nayeli last year also, right? No, this year? Earlier this year. It's the reason that I do this. It's the opportunity to watch them mature from an argument about animals, which is a valid argument, right? To the point where they can choose to accept Jesus as their Savior. This summer, I get the opportunity to baptize one more, a little bit later. Austin will be baptized at camp this summer, and he's asked me to do that. There's really no other thing that will live in my mind longer than the opportunity to baptize one of them, to be part of the process where they go from not having chosen Jesus for eternity to choosing him for eternity. And there honestly is nothing else of more value to me. And I thank you for allowing me to be part of that, because to me, that's it. That's it. Thank you, guys. Congratulations. It's almost over.
Please bow your heads as we pray. Dear Lord, thank you that everybody made it here safely, and thank you that the weather's nice. Pray that we have a wonderful weekend. In Jesus' name, amen.
Okay, we'll take another 15-minute break. Church will begin at 11 a.m.